This is African News 24 TV, and I'm ADIM with the latest in politics, sports, and global affairs. We'll begin at this hour with the news of an outrage which has erupted in Lagos after police violently dispersed anti-demolition protesters, firing tear gas and arresting activists and journalists who had gathered to oppose forced evictions in waterfront and low-income communities. The Lagos State Police Command claimed protesters blocked 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗂𝘀 way for over 6 hours, causing disturbance of public peace and disruption of traffic. Rights groups and civil society organizations have condemned the crackdown as unlawful and deeply repressive. Hundreds of residents from Makoko, 𝗵𝗿𝗀𝘀𝗶𝗿𝗄𝗏, 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗲𝘀𝗀𝗃, Otumara, Bariga, and Ajegunle had marched through the Lagos State House of Assembly in Alausa in Ikeja. Demonstrators carried placards with messages and demanded compensation and relocation plans for those displaced by ongoing demolitions. Witnesses reported that police, including members of the Rapid Response Squad, fired tear gas and used force to disperse the crowd. Several protesters sustained injuries, while Comrade 𝗁𝗁𝗃𝗏 Sokoto, a prominent activist, and others were arrested. Journalists covering the demonstration were also targeted, raising concerns about press freedom. Goes to Abuja, where the Senate has declared that its members will discuss the airstrikes launched by the United States military against terrorists in Sokoto state behind closed doors. Senate President 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀 made this known at a plenary following a point of order on privileges raised by Abdul Ninge. Ninge had cautioned that any alleged foreign military strike on Nigerian territory without due constitutional process amounts to a grave breach of Nigeria's sovereignty and the authority of the National Assembly. The lawmaker was referring to the bombing of terrorist hideouts in Sokoto state by United States forces in collaboration with Nigerian security agencies on December 25, 2025. Ninge said the strike within Nigerian territory by the United States military is a complete violation of the Nigerian Constitution and a complete breach of the United Nations Charter. He noted that foreign forces could only be invited to align with Nigerian troops, who must retain operational control. And in other news, the Nigerian presidency has sharply criticized former Vice President 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗏𝗃 for comparing President Bola Tinubu's administration with military dictatorship, dismissing the remarks as reckless, misleading, and a distortion of Nigeria's democratic history. 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗏𝗃 made this statement during the launch of The Loyalist, a book authored by Bolaji Abdullahi, spokesman of the African Democratic Congress. He described the All Progressives Congress-led government as worse than military rule and the poorest form of governance he had witnessed in nearly 4 decades of political engagement. Sunday Dare, special advisor to the president on media and public communication, issued a strongly worded statement rejecting Atikul's claims. Dare accused Atiku of engaging in willful distortion of history and attempting to delegitimize democratic outcomes after electoral defeat. Nigeria's manufacturing sector is projecting a stronger performance in 2026, despite persistent economic headwinds, as the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria calls for deeper policy coordination and sustained government support for industrial growth. At the 10th edition of the Man Media Conference and Award of Excellence in Journalism held in Lagos, the association leadership outlined key challenges facing manufacturers, highlighted recent advocacy wins, and reaffirmed the critical role of the media in shaping national economic discourse. We have more in this report.
The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria says the manufacturing sector remains central to Nigeria's economic transformation, job creation and export growth, urging the government to prioritize industry-friendly policies as the country navigates economic recovery. Speaking at the event, MAN President Otumba Francis Messioye said manufacturers continue to operate under severe microeconomic constraints in 2025, including high interest rates, rising energy costs, infrastructure deficit, regulatory pressures, and weak policy coordination. Messioye also highlighted advocacy interventions that led to the suspension of a 4% fee on board levy by the Nigerian Customs Service, the reversal of a 50% port charge increase by the Nigerian Port Authority, and the discontinuation of a levy imposed by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. Looking ahead, Messioye said MAN projects manufacturing sector growth of over 30% in 2026, with a potential contribution of more than 10% to GDP, provided policies on energy, financing, taxation, and infrastructure are properly aligned.
Our position on industrial policy, manufacturing competitiveness, energy security, local content development, and the macroeconomic environment in general have remained firmly on the national agenda. When you speak of patron of made in Nigeria products, your pen has greatly contributed to transforming that slogan into a national imperative. When we advocate against stifling policies, it's your platform that have accelerated the persuasion of government to listen, and for this, we remain deeply grateful. The manufacturing sector continues to grapple with familiar macroeconomic constraints, including persistent infrastructure deficits, multiple taxation, onerous regulatory requirements, weak policy coordination, elevated energy costs, and other deep-seated structural bottlenecks.
Also speaking, the Director General of MAN, 𝗁𝗁𝗀𝗃 emphasized the importance of quality journalism in shaping economic policy, urging reporters to go beyond surface-level narratives and embrace in-depth analysis and investigative reporting. He reaffirmed MAN's commitment to proactive engagement with government and other stakeholders, noting that the association would continue to monitor policies while working collaboratively to anticipate and influence decisions that impact manufacturers.
The 30% local content before you export, processing before you export, was an initiative of the Raw Material Research and Development Council, which was meant to curb the export of unprocessed, no value-added exports of commodities from Nigeria that has continued to skew the profits from our resources against those who are able to process it and send to us. It's been in the National Assembly, it's been actively promoted. MAN, as you know, is always working in concert with Raw Material Research and Development Council. And we are hoping that the needful will be done, even though there are concerns that it may hinder some exports that people are not just ready to add value to. But government has to make up its mind as to what to do. Do we continue to be sources of raw materials, benefiting only little from our natural resource and produce, and exporting it to countries where they are not endowed, but they benefit more?
The event also featured the presentation of awards to outstanding media professionals across multiple categories, including online, radio, newspaper, photojournalism, and television, with 2 entries recognized in the television category. The awards celebrate excellence in business and economic reporting and reinforce MAN's decade-long partnership with the media in advancing national development. Lydia Ajayi, African News 24 TV.
The Customs Service has handed over expired raw materials worth 36.5 billion to the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control for proper disposal, in a move aimed at safeguarding public health and ensuring regulatory compliance. Controller General of Customs 𝗁𝗁𝗀𝘃𝗀𝗃 emphasized that the handover reflects the agency's commitment to protecting Nigerians from unsafe products. NAFDAC Director General Professor 𝗵𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 commended customs for the collaboration, assuring that the materials will be destroyed in line with environmental and health standards. Nigeria has faced challenges with the influx of substandard and expired goods, particularly in the pharmaceutical and food sectors. The joint action between customs and NAFDAC is part of a broader crackdown on illegal imports and unsafe products, reinforcing consumer protection measures. The Niger Security and Civil Defense Corps has dismissed allegations that its leadership is withholding staff promotion arrears and salary entitlements, describing the claims as false and misleading. Some personnel had accused the Corps of failing to pay promotion arrears spanning 2022 to 2024, despite assurances that payments had been made. In a statement issued on Thursday, NSCDC spokesman 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗂𝗶𝗲𝘀 clarified that the Commandant General, 𝗵𝗶𝗸𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 payments fall under the Presidential Committee on Arrears, chaired by the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation and the Accountant General of the Federation. 𝗍𝗶𝗀𝗲𝘀 noted that upon assumption of office in 2021, the current leadership inherited 5 years of unpaid arrears, but successfully facilitated the clearance of arrears from 2015 to 2019, benefiting over 37,000 personnel. 𝗍𝗶𝗀𝗲𝗀 urged personnel nationwide to remain calm and patient, assuring them that the Corps continues to engage with government agencies to ensure the release of funds for disbursements. And in business news, Nigeria earned a record-breaking 55.5 trillion naira from crude oil sales in 2025, marking a significant rise from 50.88 trillion naira in 2024, according to the official figures from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and the Central Bank of Nigeria. Nigeria produced 530.41 million barrels of crude oil between January and December 2025. Output fluctuated throughout the year due to operational disruptions, outages, security challenges, and gradual recovery in some oil fields. The 55.5 trillion naira figure was calculated by multiplying total production with the average crude oil price of $72 per barrel in 2025. Despite production shortfalls, higher global prices helped boost Nigeria's earnings, and oil remains Nigeria's largest source of foreign exchange and government revenue. Nigeria's Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has officially opened 50 oil and gas blocks across 5 sedimentary basins for bidding in the 2025 licensing round, warning that only technically competent and financially strong firms will be allowed to participate. 𝗁𝗁𝗰𝗆𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀, Chief Executive of NUPRC, announced the licensing round during a pre-bid webinar held on January 28, 2026. She emphasized the process is designed to eliminate speculative participation and reposition Nigeria's upstream sector as a transparent, rules-based destination for long-term investment. According to the Commission, the bidding process will follow 5 stages, which are registration and pre-qualification, data acquisition, technical bid submission, evaluation, and commercial bid conference. Only technically competent and financially strong companies will be allowed to advance in the process. NUPRC stressed that the upstream sector is serious business and called for partnership, transparency, and shared responsibility in managing Nigeria's oil resources. And on the foreign scene, tragedy struck on Wednesday when a Satena airline plane crashed near Colombia's border with Venezuela, killing all 15 people on board, including a sitting lawmaker. Authorities confirmed that the aircraft went down in a remote area close to the eastern frontier leaving no survivors among the passengers and crews. Rescue teams were dispatched immediately, but officials reported that the wreckage was completely destroyed upon impact. Satina, Colombia state-owned airline, said it is cooperating fully with aviation authorities to determine what led to the disaster. President 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗲𝘀 issued a statement offering condolences to the families of the victims, pledging government support for recovery efforts and a swift inquiry. And in other news, heavy gunfire and loud explosions were heard in early hours of today near 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗲𝘀 International Airport in Niamey, the capital of Niger, according to the residents and security sources. Witnesses said the sounds of automatic gunfire and blasts began shortly after midnight and lasted for about 2 hours before the situation returned to calm. Some residents reported seeing flashes of light in the sky near the airport area, which also hosts a military airbase. Authorities have not yet issued an official statement on the cause of the incident, and there has been no confirmation of casualties or damage. It remains unclear whether airport operations were affected. Niger has faced persistent security threats in recent years, particularly from armed groups operating across the Sahel region. Welcome to sports. The Confederation of African Football (CAF) has handed down heavy sanctions following the chaotic AFCON 2025 final in Rabat, suspending Morocco's Achraf Hakimi and Senegal's coach 𝗵𝗶𝗲𝘀 while imposing heavy fines on both Senegal and Morocco's football federations. The Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2025 final, held on January 18, 2026 at the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium in Rabat, Morocco, ended in controversy after clashes between players and officials overshadowed the match. 𝗵𝗶𝗲𝘀, Senegal's head coach, has been suspended for 5 official CAF matches and fined $100,000 for unsporting conduct and bringing the game into disrepute. Achraf Hakimi was suspended for misconduct during the final, while Remanded and Ismaila Sarr suspended for 2 CAF matches each for sporting behavior towards referees. Senegal Football Federation was fined $615,000, largely due to the conduct of players and fans, and the Moroccan Football Federation was not left out of being fined. CAF emphasized that the sanctions were necessary to uphold the principles of fair play and integrity, warning that the future violations would attract even harsher penalties. The governing body said the incident brought the game into disrepute and undermined the spirit of African football. And in boxing, Nigerian boxers have urged Anthony Joshua not to retire from sports, following the speculation about his future after the tragic car crash that claimed the lives of 2 of his close friends. They believe the British-Nigerian heavyweight still has more to give to the sport. Anthony Joshua, the 2-time world heavyweight champion, has faced mounting speculation about retirement after a fatal accident on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in December 2025 killed 2 of his close associates. While Joshua has returned to the gym, describing his training sessions as mental strength therapy, doubts remain about whether he will continue his career. Rashidi Dobu, former UBO champion, expressed confidence that Joshua will eventually return, but matchroom promoter 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗲𝘀 admitted uncertainty, saying Joshua may never return to boxing again, given the emotional toll of the accident. Entertainment. American YouTuber and live stream sensation Darren Watkins, popularly known as 𝗕𝗁𝗄𝗃, has received approval from the Ghanaian government to obtain a Ghanaian passport, granting him citizenship following the conclusion of his widely followed Africa tour. The content creator wrapped up a 28-day journey across multiple African countries, engaging directly with local communities and showcasing African culture to millions of viewers worldwide. Ghana's Foreign Minister, 𝗁𝗶𝗶𝗂𝘀, says the approval was based on what he described as the streamer's growing ties to the country and his role in positively projecting Africa on the global stage. However, Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry has clarified that the approval does not amount to immediate issuance, as the streamer must still complete all legal and citizenship procedures. Nollywood actress Angela Okorie has been remanded in 𝗁𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 Correctional Center in Niger State after being arraigned on charges of cyber-stalking and criminal defamation. The Federal High Court in Abuja ordered her detention pending a bail hearing scheduled for January 30, 2026. Angela Okorie, a popular Nollywood actress, was arrested in Lagos on Tuesday by operatives of the Lagos State Criminal Investigation Department. She was flown to Abuja early Wednesday and arraigned before the Justice 𝗍𝗂𝗍𝗀𝗀𝗀 of the Federal High Court in Abuja. The police allege she conspired with another individual, 𝗍𝗶𝗸𝗂, who is currently at large, to commit cyber-stalking and defamation. Okorie faces a 3-count charge, and the charges stem from social media posts in which she allegedly defamed fellow actress Mercy Johnson Okogie, calling her a blood-sucking demon on Instagram and TikTok. Okorie pleaded not guilty to all charges. Her lawyer, Alex Ejesieme, made an oral bail application, but the judge rejected it, ordering her remand in 𝗁𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 prison until January 30, when a formal bail application will be heard. And that's the much we can take at this hour. You can visit africannews24.ng for the latest news and updates. And follow us across all the social media platforms to stay informed and ahead of the curve. I'm 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. Good afternoon.